fuck? What the fuck?
Saw dudes, or should I say saw Lesion mains, I'm sorry. Ubisoft has finally had enough. We've had enough. You have intel, you have plant denial, you have a gun with a high rate of fire, and basically no recoil. Lesion's a very strong operator. And he has been for a pretty long time, but I think that a lot of casters, a lot of streamers, high-profile people in the Siege community have just recently started to get people more onto the bandwagon about it. Especially since Jager is getting his gun nerfed, a number of defenders have been getting nerfed recently, and we're all just kind of sitting here thinking, what's going on with Lesion? You gonna do something about that, Ubi? Huh? But you guys already know the dealio. Ubisoft has finally released the Year 4 Season 4 version that they do of the Wind Delta Presence box. Not to be confused with the box by Roddy Ricch. That's on that goes, as well as the ban rates for defenders and attackers. Not much to be surprised about there. Jackal is still pretty commonly banned. Mira is commonly banned. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition unless you ban them. Then you don't have to expect it because it won't happen in your game of Rainbow Six Siege, at least. If you're not familiar with all the changes in this patch, check out the video in the info card coming up on the top right corner of your screen that will break down every individual change. But today I'm only going to be talking about the changes on the test server that they have tweaked or retracted, and that's going to be the secondary SMG ADS time nerf that they applied. It was at 3.5 seconds, now it's at 2.75 seconds, so they've dialed that back a little bit because a lot of people were kind of salty about that one. And we're going to be talking about Lesion. What can we do to keep Lesion from being a busted operator? It says here, Lesion is currently overpicked and performs really well. As you can see in the defender's graphic, he can often be quite frustrating to play against. They use that word a lot, frustrating, which is why he is also targeted by operator bans. He takes gunfights, deals damage, and slows down the enemy. I should mention the plant denial part. That's another thing that makes him really powerful. On top of that, his goon mines are also used for information gathering. We are looking into fine-tuning him to reduce both his effectiveness and frustration. I think basically what we're looking at with Lesion is an operator with a very, very high performance floor, but also a very high performance ceiling. If you guys play fantasy sports, you know what I'm talking about in terms of how if you pick a certain kind of player, you have to weigh whether or not you're going to get a reliable, maybe small amount of points, or the potential for a boom or bust play, as you would say. A play that might not get you a lot of points. It might get you a couple of points, but they might ball out and get a gazillion points. Lesion is one of these operators who just... There's very little risk involved with bringing him, and that's what makes him really, really strong. To give you an idea of what I'm talking about, let's take a look at Lesion and let's take a look at Twitch. Twitch is like the Lesion of attack. There's very little downside to not bringing her because of, one, her gadget has an immense amount of utility. It can be used to get rid of mirror windows. It can be used to get rid of a wide range of gadgets that the defenders have. It's a counter to Maestro. It counters Maestro cameras. There's a lot that Twitch's drone does, and really Mute and Mozzie are the only super effective counters against her. In the same vein, the most effective counter to Lesion is IQ, because she can scan the mines. But that's just one operator. That's a hard counter to Lesion. Yeah, you got Thatcher, Twitch if you can see the mines, but it's that combination of lethality with the gun and gadget effectiveness that give both of these operators not only a high floor if the gadget doesn't pay off, but also a high ceiling in combination of gun and gadget. It's kind of what we were talking about with Jager before. Now, Vigil is something more of a bang or bust play because, yeah, his gadget is pretty good in the right circumstances, and he requires perhaps a little bit more skill, at least gun skill, to use than Lesion. With Vigil, you gotta be really fast on your feet, and you gotta get those frags. So his gadget can help him get ceiling potential, but he doesn't have a very low floor. There's not a lot of guaranteed value with him. But there is a ceiling. By the way, all you Anchor players that are mad that I said Vigil takes a lot of skill to play, I'm just saying he takes more skill to play in comparison to Lesion. Lesion doesn't really require a lot of skill to play, you just throw a bunch of shit all over the map. Okay, don't freak out on me, alright? The reason that we gave Warden a nitro cell is because his performance floor stunk. His gadget would work sometimes, and even then it would only work a little bit, and his guns are crap. So, hashtag Warden P90. Anyway, let me talk about win deltas in this little box we got, as well as show you guys my Black Ice 417 that I'm still mad that I have. But I'm gonna use it, because it's Black Ice. Kali has not had a warm welcome to Team Rainbow. She's struggling a little bit, which doesn't particularly surprise me that she's struggling, because she, in my opinion, is one of the more difficult operators to play. I don't know why she has a 2 difficulty rating on the Ubisoft website. They need to change that ASAP. But it's kind of weird that she even has a lower win delta than Glaz, who's critically maligned as kind of a crappy operator. Or Fuse, for that matter. I think that if we're going to look at this statistic, that really low win delta, as an outlier, which it is, in my opinion, I think that they should give a little bit more to her secondary armament kit. I think she should get an alternative to the CZ75, or at least give the CZ75 a buff. Maybe just bite the bullet and give it some better sights. I know that sounds kind of crazy. I know that we might think that the SMG 12 is just going to be completely overlooked as a result of that. But this is one of the issues that we had with introducing recycled guns to the game. You know, a lot of people that I know were concerned that this was going to create balancing problems down the line, because if we want to buff or nerf an operator by adjusting their weapons, and those weapons belong to another operator, well then we're going to have to adjust that operator too. And in situations like Nook and Smoke, where it's like, okay, buff the FMG9, no one uses Smoke's FMG9 anyway, okay, cool, we got lucky. But in this situation, it brings that question up. Should we need to be a little more careful, I think, with who we give guns to now.
They did the same shit to me.
Remember when we were saying that Goyo needed a nerf? Well, that's awkward. Again, I really want to know, I want this data to be taken from comp matches, and I want to like take that data and compare it to this data, because I don't think that ranked matches are really going to give you a good idea of how good some of these operators are in terms of stratting. Obviously, Tachanka still sucks. Castle does need a buff though, and I think one thing we could do is give it an MP7. At least that's what Parker thinks, and I agree, because Pulse is fine. I think the UMP is considerably holding Castle back. I can't tell you how many engagements I've gotten into with Castle where I hit body shots, but that's not good enough because it's not a headshot. The MP7 actually has a pretty similar damage model to the UMP, but the MP7 has no recoil and a really high rate of fire, so it's easy peasy headshots. I think this would be a good change for Castle. I don't know if we need to buff the UMP, maybe give it just a little bit more damage. But if we can't have that, hey, what the hell? Give Castle an MP7. Hashtag Castle MP7. Of course we're gonna get the video to 10 minutes, you normies. What did you think was gonna happen? Gosh. Woohoo! They're not going to nerf the ever-loving crap out of the SMG 11, 12, and Bearing 9. They're gonna nerf it a bit, like a moderate amount. All of the ADS changes that we were talking about previously in the last video are going to apply, except this one. They're gonna be SMG 11, SMG 12, Bearing 9. It's gonna be an ADS time at 0.275 seconds, so just a little bit more than SMGs, and just a tiny bit more than shotguns. I think that this is a much better figure to go with. I don't think that the machine pistols should have been nerfed to the point where they had slower handling characteristics compared to primary guns like the SMGs. Just didn't really make a lot of sense to me. But at the same time, the purpose in this ADS nerf, as far as I can tell, was, oh well, we need to slow the game down. It's not just any particular weapon class that's overpowered. So let's just increase everything across the board. And the machine pistols are still being given a select amount of treatment here, and I don't think they really needed that. I don't think that people who can aim are using these guns that much. because there's so many drawbacks to people who can't aim using them. So, do we need to do anything? I don't think so, but I'm glad that they're not nerfing them as hard. So that's my stance on that. I don't think they're going to do much more to it. I think this is what we're going to get. Overall, it's still less than that of a primary SMG like an MP5, so I'm not too worried about it. If you can run around and gun with the MP7, I'm sure you're still going to be able to do it with the SMG-11. Now, what they really need to nerf is the PMM. That's why Capcan's win delta is so high. Thank you guys for watching this video. Let me know if you want more content like this a little bit more frequently, because I'm trying to upload more frequently, and I know that I haven't been as much. I'm working on the castle guide right now, and I'm also going to be working on an esports discussion video. How important is Siege and esports? How important is that relationship? So be sure to hit the notification bell to watch that video as soon as it comes out, probably at 2 a.m. again, because my sleep schedule is completely fucked. And thank you again for watching, and I'll be sure to see you maybe on Twitch. Check it out, twitch.tv, Lesion_Gregor. All right, deuces.